WWE is like an abusive controlling partner, but hot, so you always come back. No matter how bad it gets, it takes one moment and you're like, damn, I love wrestling. Sorry, wrestling puppy, I will never disappoint you again. How are your kids? Is Linda treating you right? Thanks for that moment, dog. But like I've said, it can get really ugly sometimes. And when you get disappointed every week, you just kinda wanna stop watching. You cancel your WWE network, you're done with the WWE, and then you see something crazy on Twitter. Take my $9.99, I'm sorry Vince, how's Linda? I almost stopped watching wrestling quite a few times actually, and I'll be honest, there's only one reason I never did. And it's pretty obvious. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a content creator. No matter how bad it gets, no matter how many sisters Lashley has, no matter how many times Nia Jax is gonna put Lana through a table, I have to make myself watch WWE because that's my job. It's a never-ending cycle. You watch terrible WWE TV every week until you get something good and then you're excited about wrestling again. I'm sure you guys understand. There were times in my life when I wanted to stop watching wrestling because of how bad it was, but there were also times where stopping watching wrestling felt like part of growing up. And I'm talking about 2011 and 2012. Wrestling wasn't bad. I absolutely loved it. I honestly feel like 2011 and 2012 are some of the most underrated WWE years of all time. So thank God WWE was entertaining because I almost stopped watching. It's a part of growing up. Your friends stop watching, mainly because their favorite wrestlers leave and they lose interest. You know, guys like Edge left, Jeff Hardy left, Batista left, and you don't have anyone to talk about wrestling. Thankfully, wrestling was a big part of my life, so I never really forgot. Even though the shows were great, I'm sure it wouldn't have been enough. So thankfully, I was really into wrestling games, so it doesn't matter if I missed a show or two, I didn't stop loving professional wrestling. And the stories in 2011 and 2012 were great. I mean, we got this whole CM Punk WWE Championship title reign. We got Rock versus Cena. That was big. Zack Ryder winning the United States Championship. Daniel Bryan becoming a main eventer. Brock Lesnar returning to the WWE. Dolph Ziggler getting a big push. The Shield. Randy Orton versus Christian is one of the greatest WWE rivalries of all time. And if I'm being honest, even though I almost stopped watching, I don't remember being as passionate about wrestling as I was back then.
I'm gonna tweet my displeasure.
The second time I almost stopped watching wrestling was 2015. I feel like 2015 has to be one of the worst WWE years of all time. I remember this era as forced. WWE tried to push Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and mostly Roman Reigns. It almost felt like everything but Roman didn't really matter. Sheamus was a WWE champion, Reigns was feuding against Sheamus, and Big Show, Kane, Authority. I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I absolutely hated Seth Rollins' version of the Authority. Some of the most repetitive shit on WWE television of all time. I did like Randy Orton's Authority, you know, against Daniel Bryan. I think that was priceless, but I really didn't like this Seth Rollins run. And like I've said, it felt like nothing mattered but Roman Reigns. I'm sure not a lot of people will agree, but I feel like that was the worst time to be a wrestling fan for decades probably.
I might even send an Instagram.
I almost stopped watching wrestling during the second half of 2017, mainly because of SmackDown. So after an amazing 2016, you know, rivalries like The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler versus Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles. SmackDown was awesome. It was fresh, new, exciting. I absolutely loved it. Then we got 2017, and I'll admit, the first half of 2017 was great. We got John Cena versus AJ Styles, we got Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. Sure, the payoff was worms, but you know. We also got John Cena versus The Miz, another great rivalry that ended with a terrible match. Ayo! But then we got the second half of 2017 SmackDown. And that's when Jinder Mahal became the WWE champion. Look, I actually loved that moment. Jinder becoming the champion was shocking. I absolutely loved it. Sometimes I go back and watch it and it's still shocking. But his rivalries, the way he was booked is it couldn't be worse in my opinion. This painful rivalry against Randy Orton, even more painful rivalry against Shinsuke Nakamura. I remember being so disappointed. I started missing shows, because I was just not excited about it anymore. Back in 2016, SmackDown left me wanting more. Imagine that, a wrestling show leaves you wanting more, and this was just absolutely painful to watch. Raw was better at the time, I'll admit. I mean, that was possibly the only time Monday Night Raw was better than SmackDown since the draft, but it felt like the 2016, early 2017 energy was gone and wrestling will never be the same.
Me and my friend Mark, we're gonna stop watching.
And of course, who could forget 2018? What a load of crap that was, possibly the worst year in the WWE. I remember how painful it was to make content sometimes. I love my job, I absolutely love it. But WWE didn't help at all. SmackDown was fine. I mean, we got Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan made his return, Becky Lynch started to get over. Monday Night Raw, on the other hand, okay, so Brock Lesnar's pointless matches. He was a champion at the time, for way too long, let's be fair. And every time Brock Lesnar had a match, it felt absolutely pointless. Now when Brock Lesnar is in a match, somehow it feels very special and I'm very excited, but back then, trust me, it was some of the most predictable shit you could ever imagine. Matches against Strowman, Kane, I think Samoa Joe. It was honestly painful to watch. WWE tried Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar again. Except for that WrestleMania 31 match, it honestly never worked. We got a horrible Dean Ambrose heel run. As a matter of fact, this heel run was so bad, Dean Ambrose actually decided to leave the WWE. When I think about 2018 WWE, I always remember Corbin, Lashley, Drew. When this became a thing, I believe WWE was at its worst. I remember it was so bad. We got an episode of Raw when the entire authority actually said, you know what, we're gonna listen to you right now. WWE is gonna be different. Now, you're the authority. So yeah, they made a bunch of fake promises. Nothing changed. I mean, it's better. It's way better now. But we never really got this reset button or anything like that. The shows after this show just continue to suck. I feel like wrestling in 2020 is somewhat better. I mean, yeah, Raw is painful to watch, but lately SmackDown is giving me these 2016 vibes, which I really appreciate. And wrestling is not gonna be great all the time. To every great WWE moment, well, let's just say, you gotta pay. So these are some of the times I wanted to stop watching wrestling. By the way, I started watching in 2004. Let me know when you wanted to stop watching wrestling. What was a moment or year where you felt like, okay, I'm done with this shit. Thank you for watching The Great One. Peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.